lot of people all over the world love Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars on the History Channel. Not many people can say that about someone else. That's why it was so shocking when rumors started to spread that Rick was going to spend the rest of his life in jail. The fact that Rick has had some pretty major legal problems and personal problems in his life has made this rumor get more attention. Let's look at what happened to Rick Harrison and find out how he is doing now. John Richard Harrison and Joanne Rue Harrison had Rick on March 22, 1965. His parents had 4 children: Sherry, Joseph, Rick, and Chris. Rick was the middle child. Rick first dealt with terrible disasters when he lost his sister Sherry Joanne Harrison when he was very young. They had their first child, Sherry, who was born with Down syndrome. She died too soon when she was only 6 years old. Rick had epileptic seizures when he was 8 years old, which made things even worse. He had to spend a lot of time in bed reading books while his seizures went on and on. His love of books and reading, especially things about physics and history, grew from that point on. One of his favorite books is The Great Brain by John D. Fitzgerald, which was about a Utah con artist named Tom D. Fitzgerald, who was 10 years old, who gave young Rick ideas. Rick went to San Diego's Taft Middle School as a teen but dropped out in the 10th grade to make $2,000 a week selling fake Gucci bags. But everything changed when his folks' real estate business went out of business. In April 1981, the family had to move to Las Vegas, Nevada. Rick had to deal with another problem when his girlfriend Kim got pregnant. Rick bravely chose to become a dad even though he was still pretty young. The young pair lost their first child to a miscarriage, which was another terrible tragedy. Still, they didn't give up, and a year later they got married. Then they had their first child, Corey, who grew up to be very successful and an important part of the family business. After 2 years, they were happy to have their second child, Adam. Another bad thing happened here. Rick and Kim broke up not long after Adam was born. Rick wasn't a single dad for long, though. He began dating Tracy only 9 months after getting divorced. They went out together for 8 months before getting married a year after he got divorced. And now that they had a new partner, they were responsible for taking care of Corey and Adam. Rick had to find a better way to make money now that his family was bigger. Rick had to help his dad with the new business when he opened a 300-square-foot store on Las Vegas Boulevard South selling used gold and silver coins. At the time, Rick was taking back cars at night. For example, we already said that Rick liked physics and history. He had no idea that the things he learned in those classes would help him with the new business his family was starting. The shop did well because Rick knew a lot about history, as he was available to back up each piece with history. After 5 years, the family moved to a better location on Fremont Street. But after 2 years, they had to move again because their lease was up. Later, he and his dad thought it would be a good idea to turn the store into a pawn shop. One problem they had, though, was that they couldn't become a full-fledged pawn shop because of a law in Las Vegas that said the city could only give out a certain number of pawn licenses. So they planned to apply for a pawn license as soon as there were enough people living in the city. It took some legal trouble, but they finally got their pawn license. That same year, the father and son started the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South, not far from the Las Vegas Strip. At first, the father and son focused on selling special sports and unique historical pieces in their shop, but jewelry became their top-selling item. Their business grew and became well-known in Las Vegas over time. Rick was now a co-founder of the show and shop. He worked hard to grow the pawn shop business and spent most of his life there. There were millions of loans every year by 2005, making tens of thousands of dollars in interest. The next year, the shop became famous for having unique sports items with interesting backstories. They also helped gamblers who needed money for gas to get home by letting them pawn things. As they got bigger and more famous, the History Channel became interested. This is how Pawn Stars came to be. One thing that did very well was jewelry. Their business grew and became well known in Las Vegas over time. Rick had now become a co-founder of the show and shop, spending most of his life in the shop, working hard to grow and expand the pawn shop business. By 2005, they were lending out millions each year, making hundreds of thousands in interest income. The next year, the shop became famous for having unique sports items with interesting backstories. They also helped gamblers who needed money for gas to get home by letting them pawn things. As they got bigger and more famous, the History Channel became interested. This is how Pawn Stars came to be. Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines from Left Field Pictures pitched the idea for Pawn Stars. During a visit to Las Vegas in 2008, they loved the variety of interesting and shady pawn shops. Believing that these shops could be home to unique characters, they looked for a family-owned shop on which to base a TV series. They found the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in the end. It was less than 2 miles from the Las Vegas Strip. This shop had already been the center of a PBS documentary in 2001, and Rick had wanted a show about his shop for years. He had earlier appeared in an episode of Insomniac with David Tell in 2003. HBO was first told about the show, but they didn't like the idea. But they let it be changed into the style we enjoy now that is good for families. It was first called Pawning History, but they changed it to Pawn Stars because that was a better name for what they were shooting. The name is a fun play on the words porn stars. The famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas, Nevada was the first place where the show was filmed. Most of the things that are pawned there are gold, but people also bring in a lot of old or vintage things. During shooting, the store is often closed to the public with only a few approved customers allowed inside. Because of the show, the Harrison family became well known. A lot of people watched it, liked it, and wanted more, which helped the show grow and come back every year. By 2011, Pawn Stars was the most watched show on the History Channel and the second most watched reality show after Jersey Shore. Rick put out his autobiography, based on Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, which that same year made it to number 22 on the New York Times bestseller list. Rick split up with his second wife Tracy that same year. He got engaged to Deanna Burdett, who was also divorced the next year. He had been divorced twice before. Rick was pleased that the show was doing well and that his fan base was growing. In an episode of iCarly called I Lost My Head in Vegas, he, Corey, and Chumley played themselves. After 4 days, Rick played the owner of an antique shop in an episode of The Middle, a different show. This is about the time he got married to Deanna Burdett in Laguna Beach, California. Rick got 3 stepdaughters from this marriage. Their names are Serena, Sienna, and Marissa. The History Channel first showed the game show Pornography in July 2014, show where Rick, Corey, and Chumley compete against other contestants to stop them from winning cash and things from the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Unfortunately, Rick and his family would go through a string of terrible events, starting with the death of the family father. In June 2018, Rick lost his dad. Rick reported his father's death to over 250,000 Instagram followers, saying that the cause was Parkinson's disease. A representative for the Harrisons confirmed the patriarch's passing. There was a close-up picture of Rick's 77-year-old dad wearing a black suit, glasses, and a fedora. Rick also wrote a touching ode to the man who had helped him run the family business. Richard Benjamin, better known as Old Man Harrison, died this morning with his family by his side. Our family will miss him a lot, the team at Gold and Silver Pond and his many fans around the world. The History Channel also said in an emotional statement that it was sad about the death of the old man. We are very sad to say that our friend Richard the Old Man Harrison has died. He was a beloved part of the History and Pawn Stars family. We will miss how smart and honest he was. During this hard time, our thoughts are with the Harrison family. Rick also talked about how his father had an effect on his life, was my hero, and I was lucky to have a cool dad like him. I'm glad that I got to share him with so many others who could see what a wonderful family man he was. He also said that he had a full life and that Pawn Stars had helped many people learn how important family, hard work, and fun are. Thanks to everyone who has thought about and prayed for us, asked to be left alone during this time. Added a second picture of his dad in the Navy when he was young and wrote, "Today I lost a friend, a father, a teacher, and so much more. The old man died this morning after a long fight with Parkinson's. I love you, Dad. We'll see you next time." Rick was very sad when his father died, and he was now the only one who could take care of his family and run the shop. Rick had to deal with the extra stress of getting a split from his third wife, whom he married in September 2020. TMZ got a hold of court papers that show Rick Harrison and Deanna Burdett appear to have grown apart so much that they could no longer stay married. Rick said in the suit that their tastes, views, and preferences have become so different that they can't get along in marriage. TMZ also said that the split might not have been noticed because it happened while people were protesting George Floyd across the country. Rick told TMZ that they got 3 great daughters out of it, referring to Deanna's 3 children from her previous marriage. He also said that the marriage didn't work out and that both people agreed to get a divorce. He also said that he was done with that. The new father-daughter photos he shared on Instagram show that he still loves his stepchildren as much as his own. Father-daughter day off-roading. Rick wrote in an August 7th Instagram post, "He has voiced similar sentiments about more than one of his stepdaughters, so at least that's good. Even though there were problems, Rick got through them all with the help of his son Corey and his best friend Austin Chumley Russell." In the following year, Rick married Amanda Palmer, his 4th wife, hoping that their life together would be better. Things didn't get better for Rick, though. After 2 years, he had court problems with his mother, Joanne. According to USA Today, Rick's mother, Joanne Harrison, has sued him over family property and who owns the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. The civil case was filed in Nevada State Court. The people who are being sued are Rick Harrison, the gold and silver pawn shop, Harrison Properties, Jorick Properties, and others. Running a family business can be hard because money problems can make it hard for people to get along. This is what happened to the son and mother, which is sad. Having fights over money really hurt Rick and Joanne's relationship. In her complaint, Rick's mother said that he had broken a promise because she had been married to his father for almost 60 years. Yet when she was in the hospital in the early 2000s, just after she woke up from a coma, Rick had her sign over her 51% ownership of the pawn shop to him. At a point when she didn't fully understand what she was signing, fans who had been following the story had always thought Rick was a family-oriented guy who wouldn't hurt his family for money. So this didn't make him look good. That's right, Rick's dad died and his wife took over his 49% part of the pawn shop. But her son never gave her the business's full financial records. She claimed she hadn't gotten proper records for more than $500,000 in cash and silver, which she believed her husband had before he died. She said Rick had stopped giving her money from her late husband's share of the business. Rick used to send her $25,000 every month, but that stopped in 2020. Joanne was also going to court to try to get that sum back. Reports say that Joanne put in a temporary protection order against her son to stop him from selling any of the family's assets. This made many fans worry about Rick's wealth. The protection order also said Rick couldn't move or hide cash assets or do anything else that would make her less involved in the family business. The lawsuit also asked for damages that weren't stated, a full list of assets, and a court order telling Rick he couldn't use his mom's money. He also had to give up any control he had over her property through a constructive trust. But Rick later said in an interview about the case that the accusations are not true. I also think that other people are using my 81-year-old mother to further their own goals. Joanne's request said, while Rick lives a comfortable life as a famous person in charge of all the family businesses and finances, I am scared and don't know if I will have enough money each month to pay for my medical bills and other costs. An article said that Joanne was over 80 years old and had a lot of health problems that needed care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This can cost up to $15,000 a month. Rick said that the news was the only way he knew about the restraining order request. After a few months, he said, I've tried to get in touch with her many times but haven't been able to. Not only that, but one of the companies she is suing is owned by my mother. The star of Pawn Stars looked confused about his mom's lawsuit. Even though Rick was facing many problems, the worst and most important one was still to come. In January 2024, Rick lost his son in a terrible accident. A press officer in Clark County, Nevada, reported that Adam had died from taking too much fentanyl and methamphetamine. The death was ruled an accident by the Clark County Office of the Medical Examiner. When another neighbor said he hadn't been seen since January 17, worries grew. In the end, his owner found him not responding, so they called the police. A few days later, Rick broke the sad news that his son had died by sharing a picture of himself and Adam at a restaurant on Instagram. You'll always be in my heart, he wrote. Adam, I love you, along with a broken heart emoji. January 22, Laura Herlovich, a spokesperson for the family, stated that Adam had reportedly died from a fentanyl overdose. We are truly saddened by Adam's passing. Please respect our privacy as we mourn his loss, she said. Rick also addressed the situation in a statement, emphasizing that the fentanyl crisis in his country needs to be handled more seriously. Following Rick's emotional Instagram tribute to Adam, many people offered their condolences, including Donald Trump Jr., who simply commented, I'm so sorry, man. Adam's older brother Corey also shared their childhood photo on his Instagram page, writing, I'll always love you, Bubba. While Adam Harrison wasn't featured on Pawn Stars, he allegedly worked at Gold and Silver Pawn for a time before becoming a plumber. Corey had earlier explained that Adam didn't seem interested in being on the show. Despite all the challenges and sorrow in his life, Rick remains upbeat, keeping his pain hidden behind work. He even became really interested in politics. He backed Daniel Rodemer for Nevada's 3rd Congressional District and Donald Trump for president. At one point, he even thought about running for governor of Nevada. Rick also said he might run for U.S. Senate. Many people in the party have talked to me about it, and I always think about it. I'm still not sure what I want to do, but I'm not ruling anything out either. For his contribution, there's no question people love him. It didn't come as a surprise when he was made a Kentucky colonel during an episode of the Pawn Stars spin-off that was partly shot at Locust Grove. In their grand parlor, he was made a member of the Kentucky Colonels. When the governor of Kentucky gives an award, it's called the Kentucky Colonel. Romantically, things seem to be picking up for him too. His representative told people that he is dating Las Vegas nurse Angie Polushkin right now.
Rick said in a statement, Angie and I met 6 months ago. She works as a nurse in Las Vegas. We've been in Europe for her birthday celebrations for the past 2 weeks. He also recently shared some pictures of the two of them dressed up for a fancy night out in Paris, which showed how they are dating. Rick doesn't work at the pawn shop all the time anymore. He now stars in Pawn Star shows on the side. This semi-retirement he is enjoying is far from the reports of a life imprisonment some people have talked about. Rick is enjoying his semi-retirement with his grandkids and family, even though he has had a few legal problems.